The night was loud in Murphy's Roadhouse, a bar at the edge of a dusty highway where truckers, bikers, and wanderers gathered to drown their sorrows. The jukebox blared an old rock song, glasses clinked, and laughter rose above the haze of cigarette smoke. Behind the counter moved a young waitress named Emily. She carried trays with practiced grace, balancing orders for rough men who rarely offered more than a grunt of thanks. Emily had worked there for months. She kept her head down, polite but distant, never lingering too long at any one table. To most, she was just a quiet waitress with tired eyes. But those who looked closer saw the weight she carried in her silence. Her shirts were always a little too big. Her sleeves rolled low. No one knew much about her past, and she never offered it. That night, the roar of motorcycle engines filled the parking lot. A gang of bikers pushed through the doors, their leather jackets stamped with skulls and flames. The bar grew tense. Everyone knew this gang. They were loud, reckless, and mean-spirited. Wherever they went, trouble followed. The leader, a broad man named Razor, swaggered to the counter, slamming his fist down for attention. "Whiskey, and make it quick," he barked. Emily nodded calmly, though her hands trembled slightly. She poured the drinks, slid them over, and turned to take the next order. But Razor wasn't interested in just a drink. He leaned on the counter, smirking. "You're new here, huh? Pretty little thing like you shouldn't be hiding behind an apron. What's your name?" Emily forced a polite smile. "Emily, can I get you anything else?" The bikers laughed crudely. Razor leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Don't be shy, sweetheart. Let's see that smile properly." His hand shot forward, tugging at the collar of her shirt. In an instant, the thin fabric tore. The bar went silent. Emily froze. Her tray clattered to the floor. On her chest, beneath the torn fabric, a faint blue tattoo shimmered under the dim lights. It wasn't just any tattoo. It was a mark, intricate and unmistakable, one that only a few men in the room recognized immediately. Razor stumbled back, his smirk wiped clean. "No, it can't be," he muttered. His gang stared in confusion. The regulars at the bar leaned in, sensing something extraordinary was unfolding. The tattoo was a symbol, the crest of a once feared biker family known as the Iron Serpents. Years ago, the gang had ruled the highways, their name whispered with respect and fear. But they had disappeared after a bloody war with rival bikers. Everyone believed the Iron Serpents had been wiped out. Yet here, standing quietly behind the counter, was Emily, the daughter of the Serpents' legendary leader. Gasps spread across the room. Razor's voice shook. You're his kid? The Serpents girl?" Emily's eyes, usually soft and downcast, hardened with steel. She stood taller now, no longer hiding. "My father was James Viper Kane," she said evenly. "And he died protecting people from thugs like you." The bikers shuffled nervously. Razor tried to recover, but his bravado faltered. "That's just a story. The Serpents are gone. Before he could finish, a grizzled old trucker stood up from a corner booth, his eyes filled with recognition as he stared at Emily. "I knew that tattoo," he whispered. "I rode with your father once. He saved my life," murmurs spread. Others in the bar began to speak. Stories of kindness, of debts owed to Viper Kane, of nights when the Serpents had defended the weak instead of preying on them. The atmosphere shifted. Razor, who had entered the bar with dominance, now looked like a fool standing before a legacy far greater than his own. Emily didn't gloat. She didn't raise her voice. She simply pulled her shirt tighter around her shoulders and met Razor's eyes with quiet defiance. "You came in here to throw your weight around, to scare people. But you forgot one thing. Fear fades. Respect lasts forever. And men like my father earned respect." The room erupted with applause, truckers pounding their tables, locals nodding with pride. Razor and his gang, once so loud, were now shrinking under the weight of the crowd's fury. The old trucker stepped forward, his voice rough but steady. "You boys ought to leave. Now. Before you find out what happens when you mess with a Serpent's bloodline." Razor clenched his jaw. But he saw the fire in the crowd, the loyalty Emily's name had sparked. With a curse, he motioned to his men. One by one, they filed out, their boots heavy on the floor, their engines roaring into the night. The silence that followed was electric. Then slowly, people turned back to Emily. She stood trembling, but her eyes still shone with that fierce strength. The old trucker raised his glass. "To Viper Kane, and to his daughter, who's braver than all of us put together." Glasses lifted. Cheers filled the air. For the first time in years, Emily felt something she thought she had lost forever. belonging. She wasn't just a waitress. She wasn't just a survivor. She was her father's daughter, carrying his mark, his legacy, his spirit. Later that night, as the bar quieted and the last customers left, Adrian, the bartender, approached her gently. "You never told us who you were," he said. Emily smiled faintly. "I didn't want people to see the tattoo before they saw me. I just wanted to live quietly." "But you can't hide forever," Adrian said. "Not when you carry that kind of fire." Emily nodded. She glanced toward the door where the bikers had fled and whispered, "Maybe it's time to stop hiding." From that night on, Murphy's Roadhouse wasn't just a bar anymore. It became a place where stories of the Iron Serpents lived on, where people remembered not just the violence of biker wars but the honor of men like Viper Kane. And at its heart was Emily, the waitress who had once served in silence, now standing tall as a symbol of resilience. Whenever someone asked about the night Razor tore her shirt, the answer was always the same. He hadn't just exposed a tattoo. He had exposed a legacy, one that froze an entire bar and reminded them all of what true strength looked like. And Emily, she finally stopped being afraid of who she was.